As you may have noticed, our last episode was flagged and taken down by the International Olympic Committee, or the IOC for short, for using highlights of the Winter Games in Pyeongchang. We here at the Box Score learned our lesson the hard way, so from here on out, we will be showing hand-drawn pictures rather than highlights. Let's start with some NBA action from the other night. The Lakers were taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Staples Center. In the second quarter, Lonzo Ball passed it over to Julius Randle, and he scored there. And then the Lakers, the score was at that point 41 to 35. Later on in the game, LeBron James, see, he's the GOAT. He's gonna have a no-look pass to Ante Zizic. Wow, what a play! Then Isaiah Thomas. It was LeBron. No, I'm not doing this. You know what? Flag us, NBA. I don't care. Okay, just roll the credits. This is so stupid. Welcome back to the Box Score. I'm your host, Brian Danuff. We have a great show for you tonight, and I'd like to begin by talking about Richard Sherman. Last week, the All-Pro cornerback was released by the Seattle Seahawks and ended up signing with their rivals, the San Francisco 49ers. Understandably, Seahawks fans are pretty upset, as Sherman is one of the most iconic players in franchise history and led the team to its one and only Super Bowl win. But they're taking things way too far. They're attacking Sherman on social media, calling him a traitor, and even burning his jersey. Unfortunately, these are the kind of knee-jerk reactions we've come to expect from the modern-day sports fan. There's no room for nuance, and especially no room for viewing things from the player's perspective. Nope, he left my favorite team because he wasn't loyal, he's greedy, and he sucks. End of story. But more often than not, that's just not what happens. Deciding which team to play for when you're a free agent can be a crucial career-defining moment for many players. It can be what decides if you'll ever win a championship or where you'll raise your family. It's not unlike when you decided where you'd go to college or what job you'd take. Hopefully, you had at least a few options, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure money was a factor, but was it really the only factor? I doubt it. And if it was, maybe you made the choice that was best for you financially at the time, and things aren't working out. Or maybe you didn't, and it turns out you've never been happier. Believe it or not, that's what these players go through as well. Free agency isn't something to be taken lightly, which is why when players decide to leave the team they once played for, it's rarely personal. And in Sherman's case, he was released by the Seahawks. Released. And even as he was about to join the Niners, he still went back to Seattle and asked if they'd match San Francisco's offer. Once they didn't, then he went ahead and signed on the dotted line. If that's not loyalty, I don't know what is. And that reminds me, can we stop hating on players who aren't loyal? Once their contract expires, a player owes absolutely nothing to their former team. And it's funny how loyalty is a one-way street in professional sports. Consider when an owner suddenly trades a player and uproots his entire life and family. We don't say, gee, that owner wasn't loyal to his players, do we? Of course not. It's only when the players try to take back some control of their careers do people criticize. It's embarrassing. And then there's the whole greedy angle. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot how you turned down that big promotion and pay raise. Oh, right, you didn't. No one does. So why should a professional athlete? Now look, I'm not going to deny the timing and optics of certain free agency decisions haven't been great. Yeah, KD probably left OKC and joined the Warriors just to win a ring. And money is the sole reason Robinson Cano is a Mariner and no longer a New York Yankee. But at the same time, who are we to judge? If KD wanted a ring, he got one. Good for him. Same for Cano and his $240 million contract. It's obviously important to play for the name on the front of your jersey and to be a good teammate, but that only really applies on the field. Off the field, it's every man for himself, and players have the right to do what makes them and only them happy. Going from players who make a ton of money to players who make no money, the NCAA is in the midst of arguably its biggest scandal yet, one that could be a tipping point in the fight for college athletes to be compensated. For more on this, we go to Angel Salcido. Angel?
Well, thanks, Ryan. Over the last decade, the NCAA has faced one major question: should college athletes be paid? Current and past NBA players have centered their opinions around one common theme, and that's that the NCAA is a scam. And now the FBI has recently opened up an investigation into the illegal paying of Division I athletes. The organization has confirmed the illegal paying of now NBA players Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith Jr., and Isaiah Whitehead, just to name a few. Former UCLA Bruin Lonzo Ball recently pushed investigations, saying everyone knows everyone's getting paid anyways. Why not make it legal? The NCAA has to realize one thing. These are college kids. They've been having them make their money, living off of whatever their scholarship provides them with. So Lord forbid if a #1 draft pick like Markelle Fultz accepts 10 grand to help his mom pay the bills before he makes it into the league. And someone get the FBI if a player signs his or her name on a hat just for a kid on the street for a couple bucks. The NCAA is making $10.8 billion, not million, billion dollars off of TV royalties from CBS. But they can't afford to pay college athletes. Kevin Durant said, eventually kids are going to realize what they're doing and choose other options, and I cannot agree more. And one man who's absolutely changing the world of teenage athletes is founder and leader of big baller brand LeVar Ball. The Ball family's Junior Basketball Association is set to take off in June of 2018 with the goal of giving kids a different option to play basketball out of high school. LeVar Ball is doing exactly what the NCAA refuses to do. He's offering 10 grand monthly as a minimum to any player in the JBA, and I can't be more behind him. Along with creating the JBA, the Ball family has led the charge into international ball as well. LeVar's two sons, LaMelo and LiAngelo, who are playing pro ball in Lithuania, have brought exposure to overseas ball that has never been seen before. If the Ball brothers make their way into the NBA through overseas ball, the popularity will continue to take away from the NCAA. As time goes on, other options become more and more popular. And if the NCAA doesn't change, their time is coming, sooner or later.
Thanks, Angel. Stay tuned after the break, as we'll be discussing the NFL offseason, and later on, curling fever is sweeping the nation. And we here at the Box Score simply couldn't brush it aside. Why all the terrible puns? Well, guess you'll have to keep watching to find out. We'll be right back.
Emersonians, I'm Peyton Lewis, the host of the Evvy-nominated and Evvy-losing show, Common Agenda. Last season, we may have had a midlife crisis, but this summer we really found ourselves. After some deep soul-searching and some long nights mourning our defeat, we're back here for another season of the saltiest content and shenanigans on the Emerson channel. This season, we'll dive deep into Emerson's favorite subcultures: film bros, hipsters, and other white boys with brown hair. Turn us on Monday evenings at 8:30 on the Emerson channel.
Guys, I cannot have any more ramen.
Yeah, this food is really disgusting.
These are herbal cough drops.
Well, they're better than nothing.
I have some fruit if you guys want.
Those are Skittles.
Just trying my best.
Well, maybe we can just go to the DH?
What?
Oh my god, that stuff is prison food.
Well, do you have any other ideas?
Well, I'm like starving, so like we have to do something.
Did someone say something? Hi kids, Kitchen Man here. Do you know you can tune into Emerson Channel College Kitchen for great dorm-friendly, budget-friendly recipes?
Okay, but like what if I need to go out to brunch with my girls?
Try Taste of Boston, where we profile great local restaurants in the Boston area.
What if I only want to eat competitive chef's food?
Tune in to Sliced, our brand new competitive cooking show.
I want to watch College Kitchen.
But wait!
We are College Kitchen!
Welcome back to the Box Score. The NFL offseason officially began at 4 p.m. today, and a ton of big moves have already been made. Joining me to discuss some of them are our football experts, Ryan Ribeiro and Jacob Forkane. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Let's start with the man of the hour, Kirk Cousins. He's now a very rich man on a very good team in the Minnesota Vikings. So, guys, your thoughts on Cousins to Minnesota?
Yeah, this is a huge move for Minnesota. You have Case Keenum last year, who, let's be honest, was abysmal with both the Rams and the Texans. He looked like a superstar last year with Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's just because they had Kyle Rudolph, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. You give him weapons, not to mention he had Dalvin Cook for half the season, Jerick McKinnon, Latavius Murray. You toss Kirk Cousins in that offense. With last year, he was on a Washington team that really should have been about 4-12, and he dragged them to 7-9. This is a big-time move, keeps them a contender in the NFC, probably a favorite. He's worth every penny of that deal.
Yeah, I completely agree with Ryan. I think it's a great move for the Vikings. He's a pocket passer. He's a guy who stays on the field, and he gives the Vikings a chance to have a quarterback for the next couple years. It's a chance to let Aaron Rodgers play out those last few years of his career. They can win now. They can win in the future. I think it's a great move.
You're not worried about Cousins? He's already 30. This isn't really, they're not signing their franchise cornerstone quarterback everyone thought they'd be trying to get.
I'm not worried only because that's his style of play at quarterback is not something that would cut his career short. Look back to the Washington example. You got Robert Griffin III, whose career was cut early because he was scrambling around. Colin Kaepernick, you could say the same thing. Sure. With Kirk Cousins, he's a pocket passer. The Tom Brady's of the world, the Peyton Mannings, not saying he is those two guys, but even Tony Romo played until he was 37 years old. You stay in the pocket, you've got a good arm. Kirk Cousins right now is giving you the prime years of his career. I say, why not give him the money? You can get a quarterback like this who can take you to the Super Bowl, take you to the NFC title game, almost guaranteed. I say, why not?
I completely agree.
Well, then moving on then. It seems like you guys are in agreement there. I guess you like that. You like that Kirk Cousins deal.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the Cleveland Browns have made a flurry of moves in the last couple days. Jarvis Landry, Tyrod Taylor, a bunch of other guys. Everyone's saying, good for Cleveland. But is this actually going to make them a legitimate contender next season or in the future?
Calling the Cleveland Browns contenders, it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
But the front office is really showing a lot of movement forward. I think that their moves to get Landry is an amazing pickup. Tyrod Taylor, obviously, coming from Buffalo, it's a good move. I think they're making the steps to build a better team, but contenders, let's pump the brakes a little.
Yeah.
I would agree with the steps. This is a process for Cleveland. You've got a quarterback in Tyrod Taylor who's good enough. He was, with the Bills, he was good enough to take them to the playoffs. He wasn't exceptional. He didn't turn the ball over. That's exactly what Cleveland needs. You get him a guy like Jarvis Landry, pair him up with David Njoku at tight end and Josh Gordon across from him, assuming Josh Gordon plays all 16 games.
Yeah.
That's a big time. That's a big time acquisition. The first and fourth pick, you can go Saquon Barkley and Micah Fitzpatrick on defense, and you start to build talent. I don't see a reason for Cleveland to draft a quarterback early. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Build talent, build around Tyrod Taylor. He's not your centerpiece, but if you have enough talent, you saw it with the Jaguars this year, quarterback doesn't matter that much.
So I guess the Browns aren't taking Baker Mayfield anymore.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
No?
Not after the Johnny Manziel.
Honestly, good for them. I feel like they're dodging a bullet if they go. Anyway, moving on, guys. Obviously, another team that's making a lot of buzz, that's trying to go from that kind of worst to first in a way, the San Francisco 49ers. They obviously signed Jimmy G to that huge contract. They just got Richard Sherman. They made a couple other moves today within the last couple hours. Are the Niners making enough of a push to kind of make a playoff run next year?
I would say they are, but they need to continue. Richard Sherman signing is huge. You add a guy in a secondary that doesn't have much. You've got Eric Reed back there, sure, and that front seven is scary, and it's young. But you have a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who was fantastic in the 5 or 6 games he played last year. You just lost Carlos Hyde. You did get Jerick McKinnon, but who is he throwing to? Marquise Goodwin is the #1 wide receiver on that team right now. And if I'm a 49ers fan, I'm not feeling confident about that. You missed out on Allen Robinson. You missed out on trading for Jarvis Landry. You missed out on a guy like Cameron Meredith. I think that this 49ers team is going to need to give Jimmy Garoppolo weapons. You had a chance at Jimmy Graham. I like that move not just because it would give the 49ers 2 Jimmy G's, but also that's a big red zone threat for Garoppolo to throw to, and that would have been a huge move, but they missed out on that. So they're really going to need to give Garoppolo some help.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that Garoppolo is the center point of this franchise. They understand that. They gave him the money for that reason. but they need to go out and they need to give him the weapons in order for him to succeed. A couple years, he'll really have that team around him, but right now I don't think they're doing enough.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. It's been a crazy offseason already. I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about in the next episode, and it's going to be a crazy summer if the last couple days are any indication. So now we're going to send it over to Franco Araujo O'Neill, who has a special Champions League edition of Who's Hot, Who's Not. Franco?
Thanks, Brian. We're back with this week's edition of Who's Hot, Who's Not. Main focus, Champions League. And again, this segment is brought to you by Tinder. So if I come up, you better hit your man with that super like. The round of 16s has had some unbelievable fixtures, and one in particular that the people would have probably wanted as a final. So we'll kick it off with Liverpool, hot, and Porto, not. After Porto fell short 5-0 to Liverpool, which essentially set them up for failure in the second leg. Liverpool moved on to the quarterfinals. Tottenham, not, versus Juventus, hot, due to the upset they gave to Tottenham in the second leg that took place in England. Juve also moved on to the quarterfinals. Next, we got Manchester City, hot, versus Basel, not. Despite the Swiss side winning the second leg, they still got crushed by City in the first leg 4-0. City are a tough team and currently sit in first place in the EPL league table. They have also moved on to the quarterfinals. Next, we've got the match that some, not all, but definitely some, would have wanted to be the final, which is Paris Saint-Germain, others Paris, very not versus Real Madrid, very hot, after upsetting a superstar-filled PSG with ballers such as Neymar, Mbappe, and Cavani in both legs. The Spanish side, they silenced all their haters and their doubters. Madrid have not been their usual form, sitting in 4th place in La Liga and constantly getting inconsistent results, but nonetheless, they're a squad that knows what making it to the final feels like, and they have a ton of experience, so expect big things from those merengues. They have also moved on to the quarterfinals. Now, we'll go on to a bit of a quick rapid fire. So we'll start off with Manchester United, no sir, and Sevilla, fuego. Translation, Red Devils out, Sevilla, quarterfinals. Roma, caldo, versus Shakhtar Donetsk. I don't know the word for not in Ukrainian, but I think you get the gist of it. Chelsea, not, versus Barcelona, hot. Despite the fact that I'm not the biggest Barca fan, they have been proving themselves time and time again so far this season. And due to the fact that Chelsea has gotten the short end of the stick several times in the UCL, that could have possibly been a huge factor in their loss versus Los Catalanes. Lastly, we have Bayern Munich, hot, versus Besiktas, not. Simply because it's the very terrifying and depthful Bayern Munich versus the very not terrifying Besiktas. And the fact that Bayern won 8-1 on aggregate kind of says it all. And that wraps it up for this segment of Who's Hot, Who's Not. Back to you, Brian.
Thanks, Franco. We have to take one last commercial break, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we'll put our curling skills to the test and give some sizzling hot takes on March Madness. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Aaron Kinigsberg, host of EIV's The Dish. Tune in every Friday for your chance to see what kind of bow tie I pulled out of my closet today.
Maggie, did you print out the script?
No, that was your job.
Maggie, oh my god, I do it every
No,
week.
no,
I told
but-
you this
but-
is the one
but we
week I
talked
didn't
about
want
this.
responsibility.
Okay, I need to pick my legend.
Oh my god, look, they got us slushies.
Ooh. freeze.
Oh my God, we're here.
He's queer.
Now get used to it. Come on, give me my mic. Mic me. Hi, I'm Christian Mudrick.
And I'm Maggie Morlap.
And you're watching Real Reactions.
On the Emerson channel.
We already have an Evvy, but there's one piece of hardware that's eluded us these last 5 seasons, Olympic gold. We're here at Broomstones Curling Club in Wayland, Mass, hoping to get our training started for the 2022 Olympic Games in Beijing. What do you say, boys?
Sorry, Canada.
All set? All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Say, John.
Let's get it!
Let's do this.
Let's get it, USA!
Let's do this.
Let's
Team
go!
USA, baby. Let's go.
Let's go!
Yeah, exactly. That's why we do this. You slide and push. Slide and push.
Ooh, there we go. We're getting there. It's all right. I got 4 years.
And then slide and push. Slide. Yes. Good. Good. Good.
Honestly, easier than I even thought.
I am. That's true.
Oh, wrong sport. Oops.
Really nervous. Like this is hard. This is hard. I saw the way that Lynn was looking at me. I think she thinks I'm a contender.
So far, so good. Sweeping, not been my forte, although I am starting to get the footwork down. This is where everything comes to fruition right here. It's all for this one moment. This is the beginning of our journey to 2022.
I think we're getting the hang of it. I'm really excited. It's going really well.
That's bad. Part of the release. This man thought he could beat Jeff Gray. I don't get it.
Watch when I'm done with my weight.
How did you do that?
Never. Nope.
Man, it was a challenge, that's for sure. It's a tough sport, and I feel pretty good. We have a long ways to go, a lot of training to do, but we'll get back out here tomorrow, and we'll be in good shape.
It's a difficult game out here, but we had a good time. I think we know where we're going with this. We see what we're doing wrong.
That was hard. That was like really, really hard. I really wanted to like be good at this. This is a lot of work. That's hard. I don't know what to say.
That's fun. It's called ice chess for a reason. It's a tough tactical game. Got to get it right. It's a lot of finesse, and that's why the box score crew is not that great at it yet. But we've got 4 years, Beijing 2022. Get ready.
Well, I think it's fair to say that bringing a gold medal of a box score will be tougher than we thought, but we'll keep working at it. Anyway, it's March, and you know what that means. Spring training baseball. Kidding. Selection Sunday is behind us, and the NCAA tourney is here, and our brackets are filled out and ready to be busted worse than Rick Pitino was.
Dang.
So, guys, let's talk turkey. I'm not here to find out who you think is going to be the national champion. I want to know who is the Cinderella story going to be of this year's tourney. Angel, start with you.
Charleston Cougars.
Charleston Cougars.
I say Charleston Cougars. Why? Because they're 13th seed. We went against Auburn. I mean, they're not the greatest team, but when you have 3 players averaging over 17 points per game, in big games during big moments, you have players to go to.
Right.
They're shooting 4 of their 5 starters are shooting, obviously not the center, shooting over 35% from 3. I mean, what else can you ask for from a team who, in today's game, 4 out, 1 in is where it's at, baby.
Well, you talk about a three-headed monster, and Davidson also has a triple threat in terms of scoring. We've obviously Steph Curry been doing things back and sent him to Elite Eight, but this is a brand new team we have here. And unlike Kentucky, who they're facing off in the round of 64, who have 0 wins against top 25, Davidson has 3 wins against the top 25. They're one of the best passing teams in the nation. Very precise, slow-tempoed offense that confuses a lot of teams. And they're also one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country as well.
Right?
Yeah, you guys keep talking about these 3-headed monsters. How about a good team? Everyone on that team. Now, this isn't an underdog, but how about the Michigan Wolverines?
That's not an upset.
It's a bit of an upset.
That's not an upset.
Going into the Big Ten tourney, they weren't looked at as much. Then ripped through Michigan State, ripped through Purdue, won that tournament. Brian, you should know, when you go into a postseason, when you go into a tournament, the team that wins it all is the team that's hottest going into it. As a Giants fan, you know it.
I do.
9-7 twice.
Yep.
Beat the undefeated Patriots.
That's
Beat
right.
the Patriots again in 2012.
But
University of Michigan. They did it last year, and they fell short. They're doing it this year. They're ready.
I'm with you, but that's not an upset. They could go to the Final Four. They might go to the Final Four.
Who are you taking?
Michigan State against
Well, there you go.
Michigan? No, I'm taking Michigan. I'm taking
Michigan
Michigan against MSU, but Duke's going to be MSU, so we don't have to worry about that.
I do think it's a bit of an upset. No one is talking about the University of Michigan.
I'm big on Michigan, but that's not an upset pick. We have double-digit seeds over here.
Yeah, you got Davidson beating Kentucky.
And it's going to happen.
That's not, no.
Realistically,
Okay, tell me how David's going to beat Kentucky. Please tell me.
Yeah.
They're going to slow everything down. Kentucky doesn't like that. They're a bunch of young guys, right? They're going to please Coach Cal. So what David's going to do is they're going to slow everything down. They're elite from inside the arc, believe it or not. So they're patient. They get to the free throw line. 3rd best free throw shooting team in the nation. How about that? 12th best team in assists. Like this team
you're telling people's
is
bracket
calculated. They're calculated.
This year,
they're smart. Kentucky has no resume outside of the SEC tournament.
No resume.
Outside
Kentucky
of the SEC
has no resume
for this year. We're not talking about previous years.
Okay.
We're not talking about your one and dones of Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis past. We're talking about this specific team. And Kentucky had an ice-cold February, losing 4 in a row. Davidson has won 11 of their last 13. Who do you want? I want the A10 champs over the SEC champs. I really do.
I'm not going to lie to you. This is about what I expected when we asked John Newman.
It's calculated. They're the most calculated team, one of the most calculated teams in the field. Other than Virginia, they're comparable. I'm not saying to beat Virginia in the Sweet 16.
Okay, all right. We have Charleston?
Yeah.
Charleston.
So let me give my reasoning now. Like I said before, they're not a great defensive team. They play team defense, which is not seen a lot in college. You see it in Virginia, obviously not nearly on the same level for Charleston. But they do play team defense. They rotate very quickly in a 2-3 zone. And they also play the offense 4 out, 1 in. I was explaining it before. Off-ball screens, pin downs. When you have 4 shooters able to come off an off-ball screen and shoot over 35% from 3, that's just it's a go-to offense. You don't have to be a Coach Mike Krzyzewski to design that offense, really. You just have to say, run off ball, set good screens, and hit your shots.
All right. Well, we know you guys are all going to be wrong in some fashion. But as far as the national champs are concerned, are any of your picks right now, do you think they're going to win it all, or do you think there's another team that in your mind you're kind of thinking about?
Well, I'm going to lead this one off here because I mentioned Mike Krzyzewski.
You got it.
Oh, boy, we're talking Duke.
Woo!
We're talking Duke, and why do I say Duke? Because of Grayson Allen, and not only Grayson Allen, Marvin Bagley coming back from injury.
Keep going.
Listen.
Keep going.
This team
more weapons.
has showed, you know what? This team has showed everything that other big teams don't have.
Grayson Allen can't foul people with their butts all the way to the national championship.
You know
I'm just saying.
It was one time,
right.
and he's always criticized for it. But realistically, we see a team fighting through adversity. When your best player in Marvin Bagley gets injured, you're not expected to win these games. And what do they do? They come out and they win these games.
They can beat anyone. They can lose to anyone. That's like Duke is their wild card. I know it doesn't look like it as a 2 seed. They could beat anyone or lose anyone. But because they can beat anyone, I got to ride with my boys.
Are you from the Carolinas or something? Ryan, who are you?
You know.
All right, so I'm sticking with Michigan here.
They're going to go to the Final Four.
I think they're going
to the Final Four.
I need to address the Duke thing for a second. This is a team that has lost to Lehigh and has lost to Mercer in years past.
That's fair.
They are susceptible to all kinds of upsets. They can't beat Virginia Tech on the road for some reason. That's for one.
Yeah.
They lost to UNC in the ACC tournament.
Right.
I just think that they lose they're more susceptible to a big loss than they are to a big win. I just don't see, this team is very young. It's like Kentucky almost every year. These one and dones.
Oh, do not compare us to Kentucky right now.
They're young.
No.
All right,
No.
guys. All right, so I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna watch the 20 play out. We're all gonna find out we're all wrong in a couple weeks. That's kind of the name of the game.
You never
But I
know.
appreciate the insight. I
You never
appreciate
know.
the insight. But that just about does it for this episode of The Box Score. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at The Box Score EIV. For all of us here at The Box Score, I'm Brian Danuff. We'll see you next time, and good night.